Welcome to the OTech Talks podcast, where it's all about working on technologies. You will hear the latest tech information, and your host, Kashif Manzoor, brings together product overviews, how-tos, best practices, tips and tricks, and troubleshooting techniques.
Welcome to otechtalks.tv. Today we are gonna record our session number 103. And today's session is focusing on to have an open tech talk with one of the CEO from the organization that's called CryptoStopper. And Greg Edward is the CEO of CryptoStopper, which I had a chance to talk to him back in October 2021. And due to my personal commitments and my study commitments, that got delayed to publish. And now we are back on track from last 2 weeks. So I'm going to start publishing the old recorded show, and definitely we will have more guests coming on the show. So if you're new to the Open Tech Talks, it's a show where we speak on different technology, either it's on insights from a different perspective, experience point of view, or maybe tools and tips and whatever we do in our day-to-day jobs. So that's where we come together on the podcast, and we share with each other, and I learn from you, and whatever I'm learning, I'm sharing with you. Thank you so much for providing your feedback every week and every day. I'm so excited about this one, and it's keep inspiring me to keep doing it. Is all about you, that you just keeps you're supporting me on this one. So let's before we will start our discussion with the guests, I just want to set the stage that everybody and we are aware about it, that we are reading reports on cyberattacks and massive data breaches worldwide, and which is resulting to substantial financial losses, disruption, and downtime. The most important thing to notice is that every day cybercriminals adopt new attacks to avoid traditional security measures and bring new approaches to achieve the target. Right, so the way the technology is enhancing and improving, similarly the black actors, or we can say the dark forces, which are against, and they want to get some benefits out of it. So the cyber criminals, we can name it, they also keep improving the technology and different ways to attack it. So before there was a concept that's in the security, or in the security atmosphere, or in security way, that the layered security. So with this approach of layered security, it enables you to have a system for an internet security strategy that ensures an attacker who tries to penetrate one layer of defense will be stopped by a subsequent layer. And that's very common, the practices which companies are adopting on it. So I thought to share with you the layered security, what is the definition on it. And according to Techopedia, the layered security refers to a security system that uses multiple components to protect operations on multiple levels or layers. This term can also be related to the term defense in depth, which is based on a slightly different idea where multiple strategies and resources are used to slow, block, or delay, or hinder a threat until it can be completely neutralized. Now, the National Institute of Standards and Technology NIST guidance, it has defined a layered security model that has 17 control families. And I have added in the show notes, starting from class as a management, and the control family, which is risk assessment, planning, system and services acquisition, certification, accreditation, and security assessments, personal security, operational point of view, like physical environmental protection, contingency planning, configuration management, maintenance, system and information integrity, media protection, incident response, awareness and training, identification and authentication, access control, audit and accountability, and system and communication protection. So and there is this that is called defense in depth. So there are a number of topics and the contents are available on over the internet, frankly. So let's not wait for our guest, and I will start the discussion with our guest, which is Greg Edward, CEO of CryptoStopper. And if you want to reach to him, it's www.getcryptostopper.com. And I hope that you will enjoy the discussion. There are a number of topics discussed, starting from how Greg hired a new teammates, and even what are the key traits he was looking for, or what is one of the favorite tool which he uses every day, and how he built the SaaS business and how he sold it earlier business, and what are the challenges getting onto it. So let's get to the show. Thank you so much.
Welcome to OTech Talks podcast. Today we have our special guest, a new episode, a new guest we have. And we have a seasoned senior CEO of a company, CryptoStopper. And even it's new to me. So crypto sometime, goes to cryptocurrency. So I think we will welcome Greg Edwards, and we will ask and we will learn from him how he will share his knowledge, his expertise, how he has started, how he has become a CEO even, from where he started. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining and sparing your time in your busy schedule.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Kashif.
Thank you so much. So if someone is listening, he in his mind is coming, now who's Greg Edward? How you?
Yes. Yeah. So I've definitely a technology geek from very early on in my career. And I started my first company when I was 24. So I worked for a software company for a short time after I dropped out of college. Okay. And then started my own company at 24 and actually still own that business today, and I'm an absentee owner of that. That is an IT managed services business called Watchpoint IT. And out of that, I've started 2 SaaS companies now. So the first I started back in 2007, which was really before the cloud and all the infrastructure that we have available today. But it was an offsite backup and disaster recovery company. I sold that to a publicly traded company called J2 Global back in 2016, and then started CryptoStopper to stop ransomware. So we don't stop cryptocurrency, but we stop the ransomware that triggers cryptocurrency payments.
All right. So having a services company, and then you started 2 spin-up of 2 companies, one sold it. And when this CryptoStopper started?
So CryptoStopper was originally started in 2017. We didn't launch the product until 2019.
Okay. So is it a SaaS product?
It is a SaaS product, and what it is that we utilize deception technology, which essentially is honeypot bait files that we deploy throughout a network, and then we monitor those bait files and monitor native files for active ransomware running. And then we identify the process, identify the machine that's running the encryption causing the ransomware, and isolate and kill it.
Okay, but what is the difference in your SaaS product and what usually the leading vendors in the market?
So the traditionally what companies are looking for to stop ransomware is antivirus. I mean, that's what everyone thinks is going to stop ransomware. But in 77% of the cases where ransomware is actually perpetrated, they had up-to-date antivirus. And so what the antivirus systems are not doing is monitoring for that activity that ransomware is actually running, where they're either exfiltrating files or, so this is once it's gotten past that layer of protection. And now the ransomware is actively running on the network. Antivirus is not watching for that. So when you think about you've been in IT for almost as long as I have, probably. So you probably remember the days of when there would be malware infections.
Right.
Like it would slow the computer down. It would be a hassle for the user. You did have to worry about potential lateral movement and data breach.
Mm-hmm.
But when those things happened, what we would do is reimage the machine and put it back online. Right. I mean, you determine, make sure it didn't go laterally, but you reimage it, put it back online.
Right.
And there were always some malware infections that would get through.
Right.
Well, today, those malware infections that get through are almost exclusively ransomware.
Okay.
And the systems that have been built just weren't built to handle that. What happens when it does get through? And that's exactly what CryptoStopper does. Is it's actively watching for that infection and that actual ransomware running, and then identifies and kills it.
Okay. And now between antiviruses and then most of the customers are having these SIM solutions, right? Most of you go to any customer and then we have our own SIM solution. So
right.
How you put yourself that in the, if you put a layer.
Yeah. So it is a layer. So it's not, unfortunately, not a replacement for any of those things. It's an additional cybersecurity layer. And really, the easiest way to think of it is as a file integrity monitoring solution.
Okay.
So, which some of those exist already, are in the marketplace, but not designed specifically to take action. They're more designed to log and feed information to the SIM. But what we've done is create our algorithm so that when it recognizes that malicious behavior, then it actually triggers an action and stops it rather than just logging it. Because with ransomware, even if, so like with the most advanced EDR solutions and SIM solutions, intrusion detection solutions, there's an alert generated and someone's got to do something about it. So in best case scenario, that's a 15-minute turnaround, and more realistically, more like 2 hours is usually what we see. And that's devastating. I mean, if ransomware is actively running for 2 hours, it's too late. And we take action in less than a second.
Right. Okay. And now, from a customer's point of view, I mean, they're used to an on-premise, and now they're moving to different cloud vendors.
Yep.
So then how you play your product, is it, they available both on-premise, or they need to cloud to, so how you place?
Yeah. So we started out as it is an on-prem agent that goes on laptops, desktops, servers.
Right.
And that's where we started. And now, as we're moving and more people are moving to cloud-based protection, we also protect those. What we do right now is protect those local files. So if we notice that encryption or exfiltration, then we shut it down at that point. But we're actively building integrations to all of the different cloud drive platforms so we can actively monitor it natively in the cloud.
So agent need to be installed on that VM or that machine, and then it start monitoring it.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Now, if someone is listening to us and he's a system administrator and an IT security or operations guy, and keeping in context of the latest trends in security or so, what should you suggest, or an ideas, or anything which top things they need to keep in mind? I mean, irrespective of it's a CryptoStopper or anything. So what are the security challenges if we, just give them some sort of thought?
You want the 2-minute answer or the 2-day answer?
Yeah, that's I agree with you. It can be 2 days. So some highlights that can be in shorter.
Right. So, I mean, it's got to be about the layered security. Like, there's no one silver bullet that's going to protect the systems. I mean, it obviously have to have the traditional antivirus, firewall, intrusion prevention systems. Like, those absolutely have to be in place. Patch management, I think today is more important than antivirus. Like I wouldn't choose one over the other, but you have to have a good patch management solution, and there should be executive buy-in to that and executive accountability to that, so that it's not just on a patch management, and depending on the size of the company. Some companies have multiple people that just focus on patch management. Other companies, it's a portion of one of the IT guys' jobs. But either way, there should be executive reports that someone at an executive level is holding the security or IT team accountable to those. And those should be across managed antivirus, managed EDR, patch management. Someone at an executive level needs to be looking at those reports and understand them.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if I answered your question or not, but layered security is the
way. All right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So now that was some of the tech stuff where we understood the idea and the key features behind CryptoStopper. Now, if we will, because you were doing earlier another business like services, and then you started developing it. So now, if we assume, just for sake of discussion purpose, that that was like started as a startup, as a building a product. So now, first of all, how you gone through this process? I mean, how you identified that this is the product, I'm going to develop it. So what was the process or the ideas behind to yes, I need this product?
Yeah.
So who drives the market?
Yeah. So one thing that as an entrepreneur, I've known that I would be an entrepreneur probably since I was 12. And so that was never a question for me, is whether I would start my own company or companies. It's just a matter of when and how, and started the first one when I was 24, and really had no idea what I was doing at that point. But it was 1998 and Y2K was coming, and there weren't enough IT professionals out there. And so I was swamped with work and grew that company, and still own it today and run it as an absentee owner. And then the offsite backup and disaster recovery company that came out of that managed services business. And then with CryptoStopper, that came from starting to see the need for better solution to stop ransomware than backup, because we were doing, with the offsite backup company, we were doing more full-on recoveries because of ransomware than we were for everything else combined. And so to give you an example, during Hurricane Sandy, which hit the East Coast of the US, we did 9 simultaneous recoveries for clients because of that event. From a disaster recovery standpoint, we had one weekend in 2014 that we did 13 simultaneous recoveries because of one ransomware variant.
So one ransomware.
One ransomware variant. So ransomware became so prevalent from a disaster recovery standpoint. And I got together with my engineering team and said, what could we do to stop these attacks so that we don't have to rely on disaster recovery as the way to come back from a ransomware attack? Because we had a great solution even as far back as 2007, where we really, cloud wasn't cloud yet, but we were doing cloud recoveries to our own data center. And we could have a company back up and running in less than 2 hours, which, back then was amazing. Today, that's just normal and the way it should be, right? But back then it was pretty amazing. And it's still devastating today to companies that have to go through that full-on recovery. And why have to do that because of a ransomware attack when you can install CryptoStopper and stop it in less than a second? And you might have to restore a couple of files, but it's not going to take the entire company down.
Right. Okay. So you saw the need, and then so how you went through. I mean, did you develop MVP or you just developed it? So how that process?
Yeah. So I personally hate the MVP model, but that's exactly what we did.
Okay.
We developed that first version. Really took us 3 years to get to what I consider a commercialized beyond MVP version. So we built that. The very first version actually was a PowerShell script. We just wanted let's demonstrate that we can actually do this. And so we built it as a PowerShell script, and it took 9 seconds to detect and stop ransomware. Then we transitioned that to C# and have continued iterating and developing our algorithm to get faster and faster. Now we're less than a second.
Okay. And how you were monitoring customer acceptance? I mean, what was...
So as we would do these installations, I mean, owning the MSP that I own, that gave us a great test bed because we automatically had clients where we could go install it. And so those first few hundred installations, we had that test bed, and that gives us an unfair advantage and gives me an unfair advantage in taking a product to market to have those ready test bed to go install to. But so that's how we did the first. And then as we added additional clients on, now we've created a full a partner advisory council board. So we only sell through other managed service providers. And so if anyone wants to sign up for CryptoStopper, we can connect them. If it's a corporation that wants to sign up directly, we can connect them through a partner. But we've established a partner advisory board that we meet with quarterly and get their feedback on what's working, what's not working, where do we need to improve, and how do we make the product better.
All right. So the model is through the partner. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So now you were having one advantage. That's having an existing customer base. So now, if someone is going to start any an IT product or a SaaS product, right, and he's starting from scratch, he has some idea which he has developed MVP. He's not having any customer base. So, what do you think? Some lessons learned, or maybe some ideas to share with them?
I mean, the first thing is, you've got to go find somebody to use it. Even if you have to give it away, you've got to go get it. You've got to identify folks that have the need and validate that need, get them to install it. Again, even if you have to do that for free, you have to do it. And then next step is to go find those first paying customers. And that really, to me, is that MVP that we talked about. Is once you can get someone to actually pay for that product, even if you have to give it away to start with, but then you've got to get someone that sees the value in it and is willing to pay something for it. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to grow, and you're never going to be able to get investors to take you seriously if you don't have any traction. And so it's tough. It's tough, and I get that. If you as a startup company, you've either got to have your own capital to put in, and that I'm fortunate enough that I could do that, and or find friends and family investors that believe in you and will fund that journey to get those first paying customers. And then, depending on the product and expenses, depending on whether you can bootstrap it and just grow organically, or if you need to go raise capital, then go out and start pitching.
All right. So now, from an engineering point of view, so you were having an internal, your engineering team, which you used it, or you brought a new talent for that one?
Combination of both. Luckily, the company that I sold the offsite backup company to. I mean, it was a $3 billion publicly traded company. So they didn't even want our employees. They just wanted to buy the technology and the customer base.
Okay.
And so I was able to keep all of the employees. And so that's where we started with, and then added to that team as we've grown.
Okay. All right. And so who was helping you to while definitely engineering, you're working in developing the product, but who was helping you to keep the requirement or the design with the latest trends? What are its futuristic that it need to be managed? That one, did you how you manage that one?
Yeah, so primarily myself and one other engineer do that, but then we do have a couple of outside mentors that also give us feedback, and then as an engineering group, we will come together and say, take feedback from clients, plus looking. So we use virus scan to go and download the latest variants of ransomware that are out there. And so, I mean, it's a combination of things. It's not one thing,
right?
But primarily it's myself and one other engineer that are have the vision to determine and hope we're right of what's coming next, and then get feedback from the rest of the group, and then a few outside folks as well. Right.
So now, as a CEO of the company, so what's your one favorite tool which is helping you day to day from management point of view? One tool, or how you manage your.
So Jira is probably my favorite tool right now, to manage our development process. Right. Jira. We use Microsoft Teams, and that's one of my least favorite tools, but probably the one I use the most. And sorry, Microsoft, but one of those necessary evils at this point, I think.
All right. So, and it's even still now, all the new features or anything, is it you are being managed by, or someone else not taking care of it?
So actually, we're just in the process of hiring a technical product manager. So I've been filling that role up until now, and between everything else that I'm doing and trying to maintain a family life.
Right. That's why I asked this question, because I was trying to get out of it that how the work-life balance is coming.
How do you balance? Yeah. I tell my wife I only work half days, just 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
All right. Out of 24 hours. That's true.
Right. Yeah, it is. I mean, that is a struggle as an entrepreneur to balance. That's probably one of the biggest struggles, is to have that work-life balance and not let that get out of whack, because it's easy to do and easy to spend 14, 16, 18 hours a day working.
Right. True. And with this crypto stopper, I mean, I think to 2017, right? So almost 3 and 4 years. So how is it going from a customer base point of view, acceptance point of view? I mean, is it according to your assessment?
Yeah. Never as fast as we want, but we have pushing now 15,000 installations out there. We're coming close to hitting one of our milestones, is to hit $1 million in annually recurring revenue. So we're coming up on that. So it's going really well. The ultimate goal is to get to at least 10 million in annually recurring revenue before we exit. And my anticipation is that we'll exit at some point to a larger strategic company that can take CryptoStopper globally. I mean, we do have clients all over the world already, but really need the deep pockets of a big corporation to really be able to get this out to the masses.
Right. And then how you're marketing it? I mean, do you have some separate specific sales, or how?
Yeah, so we do have a sales team. We have six, I believe it's six as of this past week on our sales team.
Okay.
And we primarily focused on the managed services businesses,
Right.
which there are 42,000 of in the US. And so I do at least a couple of podcasts a week. So this is one great way to get the message out. But then we attend trade shows. So next week we're doing DattoCon, which is Datto, the backup and RMM company. We're doing their event, which was going to be in person in Seattle and now is all online. And we do at least one trade show a month, plus online marketing, plus podcasts, blogs, all the traditional marketing. And the pandemic has been devastating worldwide, but really leveled the playing field for us. I mean, we really didn't launch the product until the end of 2019. And then through 2020 pretty much went into survival mode. But that allowed us to refine the product, and then also I think level the playing field from the standpoint of no one else could be in person either. And so we were doing tons of podcasts, tons of webinars, the virtual events, and really made it so that we could have that presence of a much larger corporation than we were at the time.
Right. And in which tech it's developed, the interfaces?
It's .NET. It's .NET. Yep.
Okay. And is it hosted to some cloud provider or
Azure? Yep.
Okay.
Hosted in the Azure cloud.
Okay. Yep. Okay. All right. Very good. So, I think some maybe more questions on the side of where because my focus is out of these discussions is that if someone wanted to start his own business or own startup, college graduate or someone who's passionate about it. So in that context, maybe some few questions on that angle, that if someone wanted to head to the way we earlier talked about it, that building MVP, and then as soon as you try to find some new customer. So usually if someone start, what are the bad advices we need to avoid it? Or maybe some guys you share to some friends, folks, and then everyone will start, either he will encourage you or either he will share, oh, this was failure, that was failure. So I know you were going from your early age, but if it's someone new, that what should you keep in mind?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is persistence. Like it will take more time and more money, somewhere between double and quadruple of what you think it's going to take. So I would definitely, you've got a plan. And so build your plan and build your model for what you expect from a financial standpoint, and then also milestones of the product, and be willing to accept the failures that come along, and know that even, this is my third successful startup. I've had two others that were failures. That, it's a fine line to balance between persistence and just banging your head against the wall for something that's never going to work. So having that persistence to keep going and learn from your failures is critical in any startup.
Sure. Right. Very good point. And if someone as an employee, you're hiring, developer, coder, even engineer, or even, cloud architect. So what are some key characteristics or you see that a candidate or a person should have, which you keep in mind before hiring it?
Yeah. So passion. I mean, they've got to be passionate about whether we're hiring them from a development standpoint or a sales, or any other role within the company. They've got to have passion. And they're like, right now there are not enough cybersecurity experts out there. I mean, I'm not the first one to say that. proven there's not enough IT experts out there in general, but especially cybersecurity.
Right.
And so being able to find people that have passion and want more than just a job. I mean, I feel like we have a really great culture within the company.
Right.
And so we want to bring in additional team members that have the same kind of passion that we do and really want more than just a job.
Okay, right. And how you identify these traits?
So it's hard, but through interviewing. So typically the way that we do our interviewing process is we'll have initial interviews, usually two, a first interview, second interview, and then I'll do the third interview with people before we bring them on. And usually by the time the candidates get to me, they've already been vetted from the standpoint of, are they capable? Are they qualified? And so I'm really digging into, what are they passionate about? And ask very few technical questions, but many more questions about what's their background? What do they enjoy doing in life? Where do they see themselves going? Those kind of things, and trying to extract that. Are they the right fit and culture for the company, and do they have the passion that we're looking for?
Great. Right. Thank you so much for sharing. I think that's good tips for the whoever wanted to, as an employee wanted to continue his career. All right. So maybe near to closure of our today's session. So some more couple of questions. So what you said that you see the crypto stopper in next 1 to 2 years, which the numbers is doubling or tripling, right? Which as a from a market positioning point of view, and for that, how you are mapping what are the strategies or activities you're doing to achieve that number? I mean, is it from a product point of view, development point of view, new features, enhancement, and then the sales, or
it's all of those things. So really, the product is well developed.
Okay.
And now, we've shifted to a much more sales and marketing focused, which is something that I see myself as a geek, and something that I'm not an expert in, and something that I don't have a ton of passion toward. So I've got to be able to hire and bring in the right staff that has that passion to now market and sell it. And that's really where our growth now has to come from, is through sales and marketing. And that's and the way that we're doing that right now, staying focused on the managed service provider industry, but then transitioning to what we consider a non-linear growth. So not just adding one next partner, but partnering with other companies that already have a footprint, that aren't competitive to us, but that see the value of bringing a product like CryptoStopper to their client base. And so partnering with those kind of companies, and then from a distribution standpoint, 2 other steps beyond that would be enterprise, which currently we're not focusing on selling to enterprise corporations, and not selling directly to those at this point. And then licensing. We've had lots of interest, even from the most recent one was from a backup company that wanted to integrate and be able to take snapshots as soon as ransomware was recognized, so that, whether they were taking snapshots hourly or once a day or every 15 minutes, whatever the case, that as soon as ransomware was recognized, that it would snapshot the system at that point.
The system at that point of time. Okay. Yep. All right. So last one question. As you mentioned, you had when you started, you had 2 setbacks or failure or whatever you name it when you started, and then the 3, the successful. So what's one thing, if you think about from that before starting, what was the one thing, key characteristics you can identify that you should know?
I would say the number one thing, and I mentioned this before already, but the number one thing is persistence. It absolutely takes persistence to be an entrepreneur. And it companies that you think, one thing that I've always said is that it takes years and years of hard work to become an overnight success.
True.
And every success that you hear about, or almost every success, whether it's in music or in technology or other kind of entrepreneurs, it generally took years and years of hard work, and then all of a sudden, boom, they became an instant success.
True. I agree.
Yeah.
I think with this, thank you so much for joining us. And if, as a last closing comments for anyone based on some crypto stopper or anything you want to share to us, that will be lovely.
Yeah. So you can find us at getcryptostopper.com. Reach out to us and we'd be happy to talk through. And then for anybody wanting to start their own company, take action and be persistent.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the O Tech Talks podcast, and be part of Tech Talks at otechtalks.tv. It's a turf to share ideas, insights, and innovations.